What's going on, everybody? It is Steven's story, and today I'm going to be talking y'all about the 7 deadly sins of independent insurance adjusting. The first one is zero sense of urgency. But before I go into all that, real quick, I want to introduce myself. My name is Steven Story. For those of y'all who don't know me, or this is your first time hearing about me, I'm from Tuscaloosa, Alabama. I've worked all over the United States and Canada as an independent insurance adjuster. I've been in the insurance industry since 2008. I've been a licensed insurance adjuster since 2015. I've worked over 20 deployments, like I told y'all, all over the place. And I've got to handle claims from auto to property, inside, outside, remote, getting on houses, getting on roofs of houses, getting on roofs of apartment buildings, inspecting cars, doing auto PIP, warranty claims for companies like Home Depot. I've done all types of claims. And I want to give y'all a guideline on how to avoid all these 7 deadly sins. For like these things right here are gonna make your career a non-starter, right? They're gonna make you they'll make you less money if you practice these sins. All right. So let's go ahead and get into it. So zero sense of urgency is the number one sin in my book. This is something I see from teaching. I've taught thousands of people at this point, and I've gotten to have a lot of phone conversations, text message conversations, DMs, and I'm seeing people have a serious lack of urgency. So, first one I want to tell y'all about is most people don't have a plan of action at all. If anybody knows my story, it took me 9 months to get hired. I've seen people take longer than that, even after taking my course or after hearing about independent insurance adjusting, they'll get their license and then they kind of just wait around. They get one license and they think that's all they need to get hired. That's simply not the case. There's a process that we can take that works day in, day out. And that's where a lot of my students have gotten hired. And that's another process that you can use that we're going to be getting into as we go through this class today. All right. So first thing we got to do is we got to make a plan of action. So we got to have what we're doing every day, what we're doing every week, and what we're doing about once a month to get hired, to get our licenses, and to get our certifications. If you've taken any of my courses, I explain that, but really quick, so I can explain it for you all. What we want to do is we want to get licensed, and then after we get licensed, we're gonna see all these IA firms we want to get hired to, right? So what most people do is they email or call these IA firms and say, "Hey, I want to be on your roster." That doesn't work. Okay. You got to go through that application process. Yes, it's tedious, but this should go under your plan of action to get hired. If you don't do this, forget about it. Just forget about getting hired. You're not going to get hired. And if you do, it's going to take a long time. All right. So if you have a sense of urgency, you want to have a plan. So one is applying to IA firms. You need to be doing this a few times a week, right? I challenge most people to have at least 10 IA firm rosters. I don't see why you should be on 30 or 40 rosters. Why? Because you can't keep up with those. Okay. You can't keep up with 30 different rosters, right? You can keep up with 10 easily, but 30 is just too much. Uh, the next thing would be getting your certifications. You need to be urgent about that. You need to have some speed about getting your certifications. You also need to have some speed about getting your 5 licenses. All right. Don't wait around. All right. Because there's a deployment that's coming up. We never know when the next deployment is coming, but we would rather be ready now than trying to get ready later. All right. If you get ready, you don't have to stay ready. Right. And so by keeping a sense of urgency, contacting IA firms, getting on their roster, calling them back and making sure that you confirming that you're on that roster, that goes a long way for us in our career. All right. So the next thing is, because I don't want to dwell on that too long. All right. And if y'all have questions, y'all can always hit me up if there's something that y'all want a little more explanation on. The next thing we're talking about is the 80-20 rule. All right. So for those of you all who are not familiar with Pareto's principle, I'm going to explain Pareto's principle really quickly for you all. 80% of our results come from 20% of our actions. All right. So one thing I see that so many adjusters do is that they kind of just run all over the place. I'm gonna get a HAG certification. Wait, I'm gonna get a TWIA certification. Oh, wait, I'm gonna get a California earthquake certification. I'm gonna go to this training over here, and I'm gonna pay this much money to go to this training over here, and I'm gonna do this, and they kind of run all over the place. But are they taking actions that get the big results? Big results being meaning getting higher, right? And the answer is usually no, right? They're not doing things that move the needle forward, right? Getting on IA firms moves the needle forward, all right? If you get on their roster, their IA roster, IA firm roster, you are moving the needle forward. If you're getting up to 5 licenses, you are moving the needle forward. Okay, you're making progress towards getting higher. If you get in a State Farm Auto and a State Farm Fire certification, you are making progress towards getting higher. All right, we're going to go into a lot of other things to help you get higher, but I would be urgent about licensing up to 5, certifications 2 or 3, and getting up to 10 rosters as quickly as possible. Now, I don't have to draw this point home, but you need to be urgent about getting licensed. All right, if you're watching this and you're brand new, you don't even have a license yet, you need to be focused on getting your license as quickly as possible. Y'all can get this done in 30 days online. If you're in Texas, some places in Texas, some schools out in Texas, you can go in person and get licensed in a weekend, right? So you need to have a strong sense of urgency about those things. All right, next is taking too much time to research. Now, for those of y'all who are self-starters, this might sound foreign to you, but I've had people that hit me up 2 years ago about independent adjusting, and they hit me up regularly about independent adjusting, and they still have not gotten licensed. They've been researching for a year, 2 years, 3 years even. I have guys, I know someone, and if you're watching this, you know who you are. I have someone that contacted me 3 years ago about independent adjusting, asked me questions, complained about their job over and over and over again for years. And they're just now about to get hired as an adjuster 3 years later. Okay, don't be like that person. It wasn't that, they weren't getting hired. They literally weren't licensed. They didn't even get licensed. They were just doing research all the time. All right, which brings me to my next point, because these are two sides of the same coin. Okay, doing too much research, going through YouTube, watching a million videos about independent adjusting, going to all these different forums and Facebook groups and Discords and all that, trying to know more about the business. Look, you're going to know more about this business by getting into it than you are just doing research on it. Okay. Which brings me to my next point. Now, I think this one has slowed so many people down over the years, and it's listening to many different people. All right. Now, the reason why this goes on under zero sense of urgency is because if you were trying to get this done quickly, you would listen to 1 or 2 people who have a level of skills that you like or you want, and they also have a level of success that you want or that you admire or whatever, and you think that you can emulate those people. What I see from, like I said, I've had thousands of conversations over the years. What I see is you have aspiring adjusters or brand new adjusters listening to anybody. Anybody that says they're IA, you'll see people listening to that person, especially these Facebook groups, things like that. You'll see just, me, I'll see people just listen to any old person, and they kind of just get caught, chasing their tail, trying to listen to what any random person says. All right, that's going to throw you off. That's going to throw you off your process. Okay. So when you're trying to be more urgent, you got to pick 1 or 2 people to listen to. Okay. It doesn't have to be me. Y'all clearly y'all listen to me if you're watching this video, but it doesn't have to be me. Pick 1 or 2 people that you're going to decide to listen to, and listen to that person. And then once you listen to them, do exactly what they say do. If you do that, you're going to get results much faster because you're following 1 or 2 people. All right. Last but not least, not following up. All right. I tell these kind of stories all the time, y'all. I got a call one time for a deployment. It was 10:30 at night. My phone's on silent. My phone rings. I miss it. 5 minutes go by. I call back. The deployment's already been filled. Sorry, Mr. Story. And it was just that quick, right? I can't tell y'all how many times I've had an adjuster call me and say, "Hey, Renfro gave me a call last night. I'm gonna call him back tomorrow morning." And I always tell them, "You're not gonna get that job. That deployment is gonna be filled up the next day before the next day is before the next day starts." Right? Independent adjusting, y'all, is not like regular jobs. Okay, it's not a lot of people that know about this business, but this is a very competitive business. And these IA firms are trying to fill out deployments as quickly as possible. Okay, so when you get a call from an IA firm, you got to be on it. Okay, you got to speed through and call back ASAP. You can't. If they text you, you got to text them, email them, and call them back immediately, guys. You gotta move around like it's a house on fire because they're calling the next person immediately after that. And so you don't want to miss out on a life-changing deployment or career-changing deployment because you are being lazy or you assume that you could call back, on Monday. They call you on Friday. Oh, just call them back on Monday. No. These IA firms, when they're trying to deploy people, y'all, sometimes they work 24/7 for these big storms, like Hurricane Harvey and Hurricane Irma, storms like that. These recruiters are literally trying to get as many people signed up as possible because they have a financial incentive to do that. So it's up to you to move with urgency. Okay, you should be able to get licensed in 30 days. You should be able to get on 10 iFirm rosters within 7 days. You should be able to get 2 certifications: State Farm Auto, State Farm Property, or State Farm Fire at the minimum in another 30 days, depending on when they're hiring, right? This should not take you a long time to get anything done, y'all. The faster you move and the faster you run towards getting deployed, the quicker you're gonna get deployed. If you just slow around, y'all, I promise you, you're gonna be doing this thing for a few months before you get hired. All right. This wraps up my first sin, not being urgent enough. All right, stay tuned for the next one. Sin number 2. No network. All right. So if you are an independent adjuster and you have little to no network, you're going to have a hard time getting deployed. All right. So this is a huge sin, not having a big enough network. And this is how we're going to combat that sin. Number one, it's easier than ever to get to know people on the internet. So if you're on Facebook, you're on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, if you type in independent insurance adjuster or independent adjuster, independent adjusting, the hashtag, any of those things, you're going to find people who are adjusters. All right. Especially on Twitter, Facebook, places like that. It's thousands of independent adjusters there. You can always network with them there. Right. So it's easy to interact. All you gotta do is just one, be yourself. Let them know, hey, I'm interested in the business as well, or I am an adjuster too. What's your name? How you doing? And just be normal, all right? I know a lot of y'all know how to play well with others. This is a time to play well with others. This is networking time, right? So use your tools, right? I tell my students all the time, we don't fail for lack of resources. We fail because we're not being resourceful. The internet and social media is a huge resource for everybody, whatever your age is, that's trying to get an independent adjusting. There's somebody like you in this business, okay? So you can find somebody like you. Hit them up. Hey, what's going on? My name is, I'm trying to get into this part of independent adjusting. You got any pointers to share with me? Are you looking for deployments too? It's a lot of different things you can ask just make friends and network and have a contact in the business. All right. This is a big one. This next step is taking in-person deployments. What I found over the last 3 years as remote work has become a huge portion of our business is that a lot of remote IAs don't know anybody they're on deployments with, right? Because they're not in office. They don't make strong connections with their management. They don't make strong connections with their coworkers because they're not sitting next to them like we used to do back when I got into business. I find that they just don't have strong networks. And so to combat that, if you're watching this and you're already an IA, or you want to start your bit, you want to start in this business and you want to grow in it, yes, working remote is awesome. You get to work from home and work from a hotel and work from the beach and all those places. That's awesome. But every once in a while, you need to take some in-person deployments. Whenever we take in-person deployments, y'all, we get access to more people. a lot of people that we wouldn't normally get to talk to in our day-to-day life. They might not be on social media like we talked about earlier in our step one, right? So one, you get to increase your skill set, but the second thing is you get to increase your network by making strong connections in person. One thing I love about this business is that whenever I go on deployments, I'll usually go to lunch with a coworker, so I'll build out connections just by, getting breakfast for somebody, going to get coffee in the morning with an adjuster. Sometimes I would live with an adjuster on different deployments. I had a friend of mine, Willie. We used to work together all the time, all over the country. We would work together and live together. And I made those connections on a deployment. And me and him got to work several deployments together, and we had a very not only fun friendship, we had a profitable friendship because we strengthened our network by connecting with each other and networking with each other. All right. Also, this brings me to the next part of this, which is closed mouths don't get fed. When we're networking, everybody, if you're not telling people, hey, I'm looking for deployments, nobody's going to call you for a deployment. I'm not just talking about your IA firms. All right, going back to step two, if we are not actively saying, hey, I see you working, I'm trying to work too, I really want to work auto, I really want to work property. If you're not telling everybody who you're connected with that's IA what it is you want to do or the type of experiences you want to have, you're going to have a hard time. All right, because they're not gonna know what deployments you want. They're not gonna know your experience level, and because they don't know that, they're not gonna be recommending. They're not gonna be recommending you, right? So you want to be able to tell your friends, hey, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm available for. These are kind of dollar amounts I'm trying to hit. That's all part of the networking process, and it's all part of closed mouths don't get fed. Tell everybody what it is you want. All right, this is a relationship based business. That's why people with small networks don't get very far. They don't get hired fast, and they don't get the choice deployments because they don't have strong connections. You're not going to have that problem because you're learning with me right now. Okay. So going back to closed mouths don't get fed. Your friends in this business should know if you want to travel or not, because when they get a call to deploy, they can always recommend you. Okay. So make sure you're telling your friends, not just IA firms, not just IA management, carrier management. You gotta let everybody know that's in this business what you're looking for and what you're available for. All right. Now, this is one thing I think a lot of people overlook is just because you aren't deployed doesn't mean you can't help other people, meaning IAs or IA firms with their deployments. So let's say, for example, I get a call from EA Renfro and they say, hey, Stephen, we're looking for a commercial adjuster with 10 years experience. Do you have that experience? No, I don't. But I know John, John Johnson over here. I know he has 10 years experience. Would you like his number? Yeah, of course. All right, great. I'll give you John's number now. So what we're doing is we help the IA firm, the carrier. No, I'm sorry, we help the IA firm, we help the carrier, and we help another IA. How does that help us? Well, for the recruiter's gonna keep calling me because I might have other friends, but they're also be calling me to see if I can work, right? Because if I know a few people and I can recommend, I've scratched their back. They want to scratch mine too, right? I've done this several times with several different IA firms over the years, and this has taken me a really long way. All right. It's gave me a lot of credibility with my other IAs, and it's gave me a lot of credibility with management for different carriers, different IA firm management, right? Imagine being a person that says, hey, you know what? Hey, I know 5 people that fit that description. I can't do it. Or I can do it, and I know 4 or 5 other people too that can do it. Would you like their numbers? You've helped your friends and you helped the IA firm and the carrier. So you've endeared yourself to everybody within your network. So because of that, you strengthen your network, right? Because you help both sides of the profession. And so I think that that's something else that a lot of adjusters kind of fail on, and I think they could do much better job on is connecting. All right. Connecting IAs with IA firms. Just because I can't get deployed or just because I can get deployed doesn't mean I'm the only person who needs to get deployed. All right. So under that closed mouths don't get fed step, and under that step of, uh, obviously connected online, this can help you out a ton. This makes you look good for everybody. All right. So even if you got somebody else hired and you couldn't get hired, they're looking to get you help the next time around. They're looking to get you hired the next time around, right? Because in this business, we're trying to do this business for a long time, right? We want to do this for a few years. We're not just trying to do this for 6 months or something like that. We want to do this for a while. So we want to build out our credibility in this industry by doing things like that. Okay. Hope this makes sense to y'all. All right. And we're going to go ahead and go into last but not least, step 5 under, not having a big enough network. And I think also it's just, like I said earlier, it's playing well with others. All right. We can build out strong networks by having, when we're on deployments, by being an easy person to be around. All right. The job gets hard, whether y'all know this or not. Working 50, 60, 70, 80 hours a week gets hard. If you're easy to be around, you're not a grumpy person in the morning, you're a person that can help somebody else on deployments, right? That's going to go a long way. Hey, Steve, how do I do this? Hey, you know how this policy works. Hey, do you know how this software system works? Hey, do you know where such and such is? Just by playing well with others, and I'm really dumbing it down right now, but by being a good coworker and having a good work product, it's going to also strengthen your networking abilities because, like it or not, y'all, it's not just about your personality. It's also about your skill set and how good you are as an adjuster. And so, the better you are as an adjuster, and your willingness to help other adjusters, whether they're newer or older, will take you far in the business. It'll take you far on deployments as well. Okay. So those are all things to think about, y'all. It's 5 steps for you under creating, well, not creating, but under little to no network and how to create a stronger network. Y'all, this is what works for me. It's one of the ways I got hired so many times. I didn't get hired 22 times because the IA firms call me all the time. I got hired that many times because people like Wayne and Deborah and Jovan and Will and, my mom and my best friend and my cousins, all these people, they were calling me about deployments. Hey, Steve, I got a deployment for you in Atlanta. You want to take it? Yeah, of course. Who is it? All right, it's this company right here. Just give them a call. Those types of things have helped me out tremendously. And these are tools that you can use as well. All right. So I'm not special. Y'all can use everything I'm teaching you right now and you can use it to your advantage. So, y'all, I hope this helps. And I'll see you on the next sin number 3. All right, everybody. So, sin number 3, little to no claim handling skills. This is something that we see not just in new adjusters, but in adjusters as they go through their career. Little to no claim handling skills looks like this. Number 1, terrible file notes. All right, for those of y'all who don't know, file notes are one of the most important things in our business, whether you're a field adjuster, auto adjuster, desk adjuster, or remote adjuster, right? You have to document what happened on a claim. Whenever you talk to an insured or a contractor or a lawyer or a public adjuster, we have to document those things. And when we document those things, we document them by writing file notes. And so one thing that I see, not just me, but any other experienced adjuster, we have to look at each other's file notes and we have to look at those file notes and make decisions based off of those. And what I find is that when people don't write good file notes, it impacts the rest of your coworkers because they can't make proper decisions because they don't have all the information needed that you may or may not have gotten the last time you talked to the insured or the contractor or the agent or whoever you need to speak to about that claim. All right. So this is a relatively easy fix. For one, I would say that to write good file notes, you have to speak well on the phone. Right. So you have to get information from your insured and give information to the insured or the agent or the contractor, or whoever it is you're talking to. You're getting information and giving information. The next thing is we have to know carrier guidelines. If we know carrier guidelines at a high level, and the way we learn carrier guidelines at a high level is by reviewing policy and guidelines daily, we can ask questions based on those guidelines. We can ask questions based on the policy, right? Guidelines and policy let us know what the insurance companies, what these carriers want from us, right? how they want us to handle claims. And so if we're constantly reviewing that, we're going to have better skills on the phone, but we're also going to have better skills as far as how we write file notes. All right. Hope that's not confusing to you all. All right. I'm gonna give you all a PDF to all these sins, so it won't just be me talking. You also have things you can review as well. All right. So let's keep moving forward. So first one, like I said, was file notes. Second one is how we talk on the phone. So how we talk on the phone is not just appeasing an insured. All right. One, we have to be empathetic. They're not calling us because it's a pretty day outside. They're calling us because something bad happened. So we do need to have a level of empathy, right? But with that being said, we can't be on the phone for 45 minutes with each insured. All right. Usually we're going to have anywhere from 10 to 12 hours a day. If we're talking for 45 minutes to each person, we only can talk to 10 to 12 people a day. That doesn't work, right? Because we're not going to be able to be productive with our claims, because we can't handle claims just talking on the phone, right? So we have to learn how to take control of a phone call. All right. This is another claim skill that people know. Independent adjusters have to have. All right. You need to be able to get on and off the phone talking about basically anything regarding insurance with your insured in 10 minutes or less. All right. The less time you're on the phone, the more time you have to review policy, review file notes, read emails, write letters, right? Talk to your field adjuster and make claims decisions. Okay. So instead of having 15 minutes per hour, in my first example, we said we have 45 minutes. We're talking to people per call. Now we have 50 minutes an hour to review claims, review the whole process, as opposed to only 15 minutes. All right. The person who's reviewing for 50 minutes and has time off the phone is going to be a more productive adjuster than someone that's going to be talking on the phone all the time. All right. Next step. I see this a lot. This is an indicator of low claim skill. I hear people talking about how insurers are cussing them out all the time. When I see people get cussed out a lot, because I've talked to thousands of people over my career, that happened more often than not to me specifically when I didn't know what I was doing or I was not confident in what I was doing. Okay. So when I had escalations, you know, when I had these arguments, my tempers flare, things like that. It usually was shaped, it usually happened when I was not competent in an area of the claim process, right? So I wasn't able to give the information proper to my insured or get information proper for the insured. We're both confused. The insured is angry, and now they're blowing up on me, right? And I'm trying to defend myself, right? These things get you management escalations. So they're gonna go over your head. You're gonna talk to your manager. They're gonna tell you all the stuff they're mad about. They're gonna say all the stuff they're mad about to your manager, and these things can result in you being released, right? So we don't want those things to happen. Again, what we do, we gotta fall back on carrier guidelines and policy. We're gonna use that language that we learn from by reviewing daily. We're going to use that language and that knowledge to guide our insurers on what's going on and guide us so we can make claims decisions and we can be effective and productive, right? So, which brings me, it's a lot of skills, y'all. It's a lot of skills as far as claim handling. I find that a lot of adjusters, specifically my newer adjusters, by new I mean in the first 2 years of business, they rely heavily on other adjusters guessing, or they rely on their management to make decisions for them. Y'all, that just does not work. Okay. That's not going to work in this business. If your name is on the claim, it's up to you. It's your responsibility to make claims decisions on that. That's what we all get paid for as adjusters. We get paid to make decisions. Okay. We get paid to make claim decisions. So it's not your manager's job to check on your claim or to give it a review real quick before you make a decision. Make the decision, and go for it. All right. But you make those decisions based on carrier guidelines and policy. If you're not making decisions based on carrier guidelines and policy, y'all, that means you're guessing and you're putting yourself in danger of getting released. Okay. Why? We have to be able to back up what we're saying in the file notes. And if our managers ask us, why'd you make that decision? If you say, well, I made a decision because it looks like another claim I did, That's not right. We got to be able to say why we did something based on policy language and carrier guidelines. Y'all, I'm gonna keep saying this because I want to drive it home to everybody. Okay. Next thing, as far as lack of skills, we talked about file notes. We talked about how we talk on the phone. We talked about how we control the phone call, right? And then last but not least, y'all, is effort. A lot of this is effort based. This is an effort based business. 80% of this, all right. As much as you need to know policy and carry guidelines, you got to pick the phone up. Pick the phone up when people call you. When they call you, call them back. Check your voicemail. When somebody emails you, email them back. Y'all be surprised how many people lose their jobs, lose these amazing six-figure jobs in this business, all because they're being lazy. Okay, that's what it is. If you're not willing to answer a phone call when the phone is ringing, if you're not willing to respond to an email promptly, give people information like, hey, I'm going to call you back on Thursday, and actually call them back on Thursday, you're going to have a short career in the business. You're going to have very short deployments. All right. This is, again, effort based. Everybody can respond to an email. Everybody can respond to a voicemail. Everybody can call people back when they say they're going to call people back. All right. Set a calendar. We all have a calendar function on our computers in this business. All right. Some have it in the claim environment, but we also can make our own notes and make our own deadlines outside of the claim system if we have to make sure that we're talking to the insurers when we say we're going to do it. Okay. And another thing, y'all, when it comes to these emails, these voicemails, things like that, this is a great way. By not answering voicemails and emails is a great way to get escalations, manager escalations. You don't want your manager snooping around in your files, okay? Because if you mess up on one thing, or you messed up in the idea that you didn't answer voicemails here in this claim that this person's doing escalation on, you probably are doing this on other claims. So your manager's going to check that. They're going to do a spot check. They're going to grab 5 or 10 of your claims. If you got 50, 60, 70 claims, 80 claims, 100 claims, they're going to check them. They're going to see if you're doing this on other claims. And if you are, this is grounds for your release. Okay. So don't let something as small as responding to emails, responding to voicemails, calling people you say you're going to call them back with information that you say you're going to have for them. All right. One more thing, because I don't want you all to think that you have to make everybody happy. All right. So, what you want to do when you're talking to these insurers, you don't have to make them happy or appease them. All you have to do is give them the information that you have. All right. You don't want to, jumping around a bit, but you don't want to put people on hold all the time when you're talking on the phone with them. You can always talk and review at the same time. Hey, Mr. Insured. Hey, Mr. Insured. I'm not going to put you on hold. I'm going to be quiet for a bit. You can keep talking, and I'll be researching your claim. All right. When you put people on hold, it makes them angry. All right. This is another thing. It's another skill to learn. It makes them angry, y'all. You get put on hold once, you get put on hold on twice. The person comes back, they're not really speaking that confidently. Now you're trying to ask for a manager. Think about it if it was you. If you're calling somebody and they don't seem that confident when they're talking, if they're putting you on hold for 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 4 minutes at a time, and doing it 1 or 2 times, you're trying to talk to a manager because you want to make something happen. You want to get something done on your claim, right? So if you find yourself doing that or about to do that, avoid that. Okay. These are small. This is effort-based skills, y'all. This is just a little effort not to press that hold button. Keep them on the call, and just work through the claim with them. Okay, it's going to calm them down, give them a lot more confidence in you and your abilities. All right, and overall, make your days much easier. You don't want to be getting yelled at all day long. It's not fun. It's not good for your mental health either. Okay, so y'all, that's what I have for this sin. Let's get to the next one. All right, so we talked about this a bit in sin number 3, but we're gonna go deeper into this in sin number 4, which is poor work ethic. Everybody, we're gonna just gather around. Everybody gather around by the campfires. We gotta talk about this. Okay. We are getting paid very good salaries to do what we do. All right. We have at times, y'all, we're gonna be spending, hundreds of thousands of dollars in insurance carrier money per week, per month. You might in a month you might spend $1 million paying out on claims. All right. So we have a big responsibility as independent insurance adjusters. You have people that have lost everything. People that have, they might have lost their house in a hurricane, fire, vandalism. Somebody might have just stolen their car. They might have been in a horrific accident. They may have become paralyzed. A family member may have become paralyzed or died. Right? These people, our insurers, are calling us because something really bad might have happened. It's not something small. It's not just like, the floor rotted underneath the refrigerator. Sometimes it's some serious issues that happen. After the police officers leave, after the ambulance leaves, and the firefighters and the first responders, we are the second responders. Now we come out to help make them whole again. That is what insurance is about. All right. So our insurers deserve the best that we can give them. Not only because, we're getting paid well, but also because they're our fellow human being. Okay. All of us can be in the same position they're in. We all have homes. We can lose our homes. We all go to and from work. We can all get in car accidents going there. All right. Or going to pick up our loved ones or doing whatever. Right. And so, uh, we have we all can be in the same situations our insurers are in. So they deserve the same dignity and respect that you would like to get if you were in that same situation. With that being said, this also requires us to have a level of work ethic. Okay. Now, just because this is new for you, just because it seems like an easy job because you're sitting at a desk, or you're out alone driving around making inspections by yourself, we still have to have the respect. We have to respect and have the responsibility to others that we're going to do the best job that we can. Okay, that's where work ethic comes in at. All right, I've gotten to see thousands of insurance claims personally. I've got to see thousands of insurance adjusters personally. Okay, and the worst claims and the worst adjusters they usually meet up together, right? Because they're not handling the claim correctly because they're being lazy. All right. So I wanted to drive that point home to you all. Y'all, we are here to help other people. Okay. We're not here to win a lottery. This is not a cash grab. This is a career where we are helping other people day in and day out. It is not just paperwork. These people are not just a number. These are living, breathing human beings who have situations that you yourself could be in one day. So give them the honor of your work ethic, right? And we also get paid really well for this. Guys are making $6, $7, $8, $9, $10,000 sitting at the computer or getting on a roof. $15,000 a month to get on a roof, taking pictures, walking around the house. All right. Some of y'all are making $15,000 inside inside desk. You're not even breaking a sweat making $15,000. You didn't get a degree to do it, right? And so honor that position by putting in some serious work. Y'all, file notes is all work ethic. Okay? File notes. So like we talked about in the last module, what we're doing in file notes is explaining what happened. Now, there's a way to half do everything, right? And unfortunately, I would say 60% of the industry writes file notes incorrectly, not because they don't know how to do it, but because they're being lazy. All right. Or they don't know how to do it and they're being lazy and asking somebody how to do it. All right. So, what I want to tell y'all about today is specifically not how we learn processes, but the processes that you can use. And once you learn it, you can do it over and over again. Now, guys, I'm not gonna go too deep into it on video because I have a PDF set up for it, right? But essentially, once we learn how to do something the right way, we're gonna do it that way every single time. All right. So that goes with our file notes. For example, if you know that you're going to talk to somebody about, let's say, for example, uh, the inspection has already came back. Let's say it's a property claim. The estimate has already come back, and the insured is following up. So if you know that you already got the estimate, you need to tell the insured, what? I have an estimate. I'll be making a claims decision. Do you have an estimate? Um, confirming that, what else are we going to confirm? We're going to confirm that how much time you're going to spend reviewing this estimate and when they can expect a settlement decision. At least these 5 things need to be talked about in the conversation. If you know those 5 things need to be talked about in the conversation, you also know more or less how your file note should look, right? Every time we're calling out on an insured, you should be reviewing your file notes to know more or less what you're going to be saying to your insureds. All right. So what are you going to do? Take a second before just calling an insured all willy-nilly. Hey, let me review this policy. We read from bottom to top, scroll all the way to the bottom. Let's read our file notes. Read all the file notes. Let's look at our estimates. If there's an estimate in the file, look at photos. If there's an estimate, if there's photos in the file, review emails. From there, we're going to get an idea of what we need to say. Once we know what to say, we can kind of mentally organize our file note, right? Now, with that being said, we also need to know what our carrier guidelines are and what our management wants from our file notes. This is simple. Anybody can do this, okay? On your first day, you can ask your manager, how do you like your file notes? All right, because your manager is the one who's going to be judging your file notes day in and day out. How do you like your file notes? Do you like longer file notes? Do you like more technical file notes? What kind of template do you want in your file notes? If you ask your manager that, and then also know what you're going to talk about, then you're just filling in a few templates as far as what your manager wants. All our managers want different things. Some like more concise, some like longer claims, longer claim notes, right? Or based on the nature of the claim you're handling, it's going to require you to put coverage A, B, C. It's going to require you to put policy number in there, claim number in there, cause of loss, date of loss, things like that. Let's find that out early on. Why? We had to find this out because, again, like I talked about earlier, managers do spot checks. And so if they're doing a spot check from 5 weeks ago when you first started, or 2 months ago when you first started, and you had a bunch of terrible file notes, you better hope your file notes got better in the next 2 months as they continue their spot checks, because what you did a month ago or 2 months ago might get you released today. Okay? So take the time, put a little effort in. Hey, have a little quick chat with your manager. Hey, look, I just want to know how you like your file notes done. Do you like it like this? Do you like it like that? And, once you hone in on what they want, you can start giving your manager what they want. This is small, guys. This is a small thing that can save your job. All right. If you write good file notes and you can show up on time every day, more than likely, you're going to have a longer deployment than other people who don't have that same skill set. All right. I'm honing in on file notes because we talked about, like I told you, we talked about some other things about work ethic earlier on the last sin. All right. But I'm just really just drilling this into you all. Okay. Because those of us who have strong work ethic, what is also his work ethic look like? Showing up on time. All right. Leaving on time. All right. If we say we're supposed to leave at 6 p.m., you shouldn't be leaving at 5:45. If you have an hour lunch, you should go and come back within that 60 minutes. Wow. Whether you're working remote, whether are you working in office or you're working in the field, people are keeping track of you. All right. These claim systems can keep track of you. These managers are not stupid. Everybody knows what's going on. All right. So it's no need to try to ride the clock. All right. Because it's going to show through patterns. We work enough claims and we have enough time day to day that you should hit certain numbers each day, each week, and each month. If you're not doing that, again, they'll spot check you. So there's another way to spot check people that's not just looking at file notes. They'll go and look at your screen. All right. There's insurance companies that can just pull up your screen live and see what you're doing. All right. You have management, they'll give you a call, start asking questions. They'll call you on the cell phone. Even in the field, they'll call you. They have ways to check your productivity. All right. And so what I've learned over the years as an adjuster is that people follow patterns. So if you are a person who is normally working hard, normally on time, and leave when they're supposed to leave, more than likely, that's going to show up day in and day out. But if you're a person that goes on an hour and a half grocery run during the middle of the day and you don't clock out, It's going to show when you're missing team meetings for no reason, when you're not responding to emails when you're supposed to, when you're missing voicemails, not returning calls when you're supposed to. You're just forgetting things. That's all having to do with work ethic, guys. Also, when you're in the office, this is a big thing. These cell phones, y'all, I see people get fired for cell phones all the time. They have deployments, and I want to make this very clear to everybody so y'all know. All right. They have deployments. You cannot bring your cell phone into the building. I've been on deployment on 3 separate occasions. They had video cameras in all the corners of the room, in the middle of the room, to see that we were not on our phones. Okay. These cell phones, y'all, all that texting and keeping up with your family and scrolling social media, it's fun when you're off work. But that cell phone or that meme or that text message or that call to your significant other, whatever, is it worth you getting fired over? You need to make that decision now because it's going to affect your work ethic. It affects your productivity, and it also affects claim security. Okay. These insurance companies don't want you having your cell phone out with the ability to just take pictures and record calls and get sensitive information from these insurers that you can do whatever you feel like doing with. All right. So I want to drive that point home, y'all. And if you're working remote, put that cell phone somewhere else. Put it in a closet. Put it in your shoebox. Put it in the car. Whatever you got to do, because y'all, I've seen people get walked out of deployments because they were watching a movie on their phone. Something so harmless as watching a movie on your phone. You typing and you look at your phone, and next thing you know, you get a tap on the shoulder. Hey, Mr. Story, meet me in the lobby. And you get released. You were making $8,000 a month, $12,000 a month, and now you get released because you was watching, you know, uh, Orange is the New Black or something. That's not what you want. All right. So don't allow those type of distractions to affect your work ethic. All right, y'all. That's the end of this module. Let's get to the next one. What's up, y'all? Next sin, inability to get deployments quickly. Y'all, some of these, y'all gonna notice a pattern. I hope y'all already noticing the pattern. But I think that one of the problems with people when they're not able to get a deployment quickly, specifically like back-to-back deployments, is because of a few things: lack of work ethic, no sense of urgency, uh, low abilities, right? So they don't have a lot of claim skills, right? So when you couple all 3 of these things together, we're gonna add up some more things inside this module. But when you have these 3 problems, these three sins, it makes getting deployed so much harder. Oh, and also a small network. Those 4 things. Why? Okay. Why do these things happen, right? You have these 4 sins and it culminates in you not getting deployed. So what I see for a lot of adjusters, again, y'all, I've gotten to teach thousands of adjusters. I've gotten to work with thousands of adjusters, and I get to see patterns. All right. If anybody knows the law of large numbers, we can see patterns in large numbers. So these are some of the patterns I get to see, and I've seen over the years. And if any of y'all is watching this are more experienced adjusters, I'm sure you'll agree with me on this. So first thing I see, as far as people who don't get deployed quickly, is because they don't want to be deployed. All right. They'll work for 5, 6 months. They'll have $20,000 or $30,000 saved up, and they just won't even try for 6 months. They're not trying to get deployed, not getting any new certifications. They're not getting any licenses. They're doing zero networking, and they're just hanging out at the house. They're just hanging out. They might even go get a regular job for a bit. They might go work at, the post office or Home Depot or whatever. All right. That's one group of people, because they think that they can get hired in the same way they got hired the first time, which was, if they had that mindset, more than likely they just got a call randomly. They weren't following up. They weren't networking. They weren't, calling these insurance IA firms and calling them up with their 15 questions. They weren't doing any of those things, right? So the first time they got hired randomly, and so they thought that that's how it's going to be every single time, because they don't have the same process that y'all had. Y'all not gonna have this issue. Okay, because y'all got me, y'all got everything I'm teaching. All right, this ain't gonna be y'all. And if it's y'all, if it happens to be you, it's your fault. It ain't mine. Okay, but let's go back into it. So what we see is that they have no sense of urgency, right? And what I find also is that they never placed um, a big goal of getting to know anybody on their deployments, right? So they didn't network with the managers. They didn't network with carrier management. They didn't network with their fellow IAs. They didn't get anybody's phone numbers. They weren't going to lunch. So what happens is they become forgettable because they didn't network, right? Because they don't network. Oh, you remember that guy? He used to sit in the corner. Yeah, what was his name? Jason, I think. You guys' number? No, I don't have it. Okay, well, he was all right. I would call him. They don't have your number to get you to the next deployment because, like it or not, y'all, most deployments don't happen from an IA firm calling you. It comes from another IA calling you. Okay, so no networking, you're gonna have a hard time getting deployed. Next thing is skills. Y'all remember a while back I just told y'all about file notes and why they were so important. We went into detail about that. Now, if you and I are working together, and every time you get in one of my claims, you roll your eyes. Oh man, I missed Steve's claim again. He never writes his file notes correctly. He only writes 2 sentences and it's super short. He always just kicking the claim down the road. He makes me and my other coworkers do the job for him. We do it because we want to, we want to make sure the insurer is taken care of. But I know that when I get in Steve's claims, it doesn't look professional, and I think that he's lazy. Even if you know me and you know me well, we go out, we hang out and all that kind of stuff, more than likely I'm gonna get fired before you do. So we're not gonna have a strong relationship. And then also you're gonna see my work product. When you see my work product and you're not impressed, you're not gonna have you're not gonna really want to get me hired on the next deployment. So when I call and say, yo, John, hey, Jane, I'm calling you up. Keisha, what's up? You got any deployments? Yeah, I got a deployment right now, but I don't know if they're hiring. You're gonna get conversations like that because you don't have a good work product. All right. So no sense of urgency and a bad work product, y'all, and no networking are all ways that you're gonna be slow to get hired. The next thing I would say is, and it's something I see a lot again, especially in this new era of remote work. Y'all, I don't look that old, but I've been in this business a long time. When I was in this business, no one when I got in, no one could work remote. 3 years in, management could work remote on some deployments. It was very special deployments with a very special relationship to the IA firm. Outside of that, nobody worked remote. Okay. So we had so if there was a call to work in Indiana, we had to drive to Indiana and go live in Indiana for 6 months to a year. When you get called to go to Florida, you're living in Florida now, or Atlanta, or Nashville, or New York, or Denver, or Greeley, Colorado, like I did, or Houston. Insurance adjusting has taken me all over the United States and Canada. I lived in Canada because of insurance adjusting, right? But the main thing was we had to be much more flexible, right? We had to be much more flexible in the types of deployments that we took. Because of this, you can get hired quickly. In my experience over the last 3 years, after the pandemic happened, we saw a huge rise in remote work. But in that remote work, it also was a rise in how people wanted to work as an adjuster. That's no problem. Nothing wrong with that. But there are consequences to that decision. Namely, being you have people who work remote and they used to making $35 an hour 2 years ago, and now the remote wages are starting to go down a bit, and they want people more in office again. And a lot of people are refusing to take office deployments. They're refusing to take field deployments. And this is affecting how often they get deployed. Because now, when they could have gotten, 6 or 7 deployments in a year if they felt like it, or they could have, hopped to several deployments if they went in office, now they refuse to do that. But the issue is, it's a new adjuster getting hired every day. And some of these adjusters never heard about remote work. They don't know anything about that. So they're more like we used to be, which is they're taking that opportunity. And unfortunately, they're taking the opportunity away from you. the adjuster who's already experienced, but they only know remote work. So my challenge to everybody is listening. If you work field, don't be afraid of working inside, working desk claims, working auto claims. Don't be scared to switch out of a niche. All right. I worked a year in auto, but to get to my next step in my career, I switched to field property. I did field property for a few months, and I came back and did desk property. And then desk property is what I did for several years after that. Right. If I was not flexible, I would have missed my next step trying to do auto total loss. Auto total loss went out the window for 2 years. I would have been unemployed for 2 years as an adjuster, right? So don't let that be you. Be flexible, all right? If you don't have any serious health issues and you can move around, you have a car, you have the money to get a ladder and things like that, man or woman, y'all, get up on the roof, okay? You don't have to be married to auto deployments. You don't have to be married to property. You don't have to be married to any, y'all, guys, we got public adjuster claims, we got litigation claims, we got warranty claims, auto PIP, we got contents, ALE claims, we got supplemental claims. It's so many types of claims that's out there. And these are all opportunities for you to not only increase your skill set, but keep getting paid by being on deployment. When we're not deployed, we're not making any money, right? So be flexible. Don't get married to only being a remote adjuster. Okay. That's something big I'm seeing in the industry right now. And I want all y'all to avoid that. Be flexible. You never know what you'll learn on these deployments. You never know how long these deployments are going to last. I'll give you an example. It was me, my friend Willie. We had just left Atlanta and we are going to do property adjusting. Right, it was a big hurricane at that time. It's a really big hurricane, as a matter of fact. And what happened? We get down there to Fort Lauderdale, working out there, and it was us two, and we're sat next to a guy named D. Lawrence. D. Lawrence, me and Willie were tall guys, but D. Lawrence is way taller than us. D. Lawrence used to be in the NFL, and he used to be a claims adjuster in the 90s. And he had a long career as an insurance adjuster. He got a disease that rendered him blind and paralyzed for like a couple of years. He gets better, he regains his eyesight, and he's able to walk again. And so the only thing he knew how to do was claims adjusting. And so he went from disabled to a desk adjuster again, but he was really, really good. And so at that time, that deployment was making $38 an hour. And like I said, it was a ton of work. All right. And so me and Willie, we left and we went to another deployment, and D. Lawrence stayed. D. Lawrence is still there in 2023. He's been working that same deployment since 2017. Okay. 2017, fall 2017, he's been working that deployment. So if you're not, so a person like D. Lawrence, he got out there, he went inside to the office, and he got a deployment that lasted him all these years. 2017 and 2023, that's 6 years, a 6-year deployment. Okay. My mother, she had a 6-year deployment as well because she stayed flexible. She moved around. She lived in Colorado. She lived in Boulder, Colorado. She lived in Greeley, Colorado. She lived in Denver, Colorado. She lived in Waco, Texas for a bit. But then she got down to Mobile, Alabama, and she got a really long deployment because of it. All right. Y'all don't know which deployment is going to fit with your personality. Management is going to fit with your personality. IA firm and carrier is going to fit with your personality and the style of work. And then you get to do it for a really long time. All right. I cannot stress this enough, y'all. If you stay flexible about what you're willing to work, you're going to get more deployments and you're going to be able to get deployed faster. All right. Now, back to how we get deployed faster. Networking. Having a sense of urgency. Once you get released, rest for 2 weeks, 3 weeks tops. You need to be looking for your next deployment. If you repeat the same process that I teach you all on how to get hired the first time, and you repeat that every single time you get deployed, every time you get released, you're going to be getting hired like that. All right. 15 questions. All right. The 15 questions we ask IA firms. You can't just be calling and saying, hey, y'all got any deployments? Hey, y'all hiring? We got a lot more questions to ask. I had that PDF for you all, the 15 questions to ask IA firms that you can look at under this SIM, right? Under this module. But all these things are going to help us. Networking, y'all. When you get released, you got to let people know, hey, I just got released. Do you know anybody that's hiring? Hey, do y'all have any more seats over there? Because a lot of times the insurance adjuster that's working a deployment will know when somebody's getting ready to leave before the recruiter knows, before the firm knows. So they can help you a ton. That's where your networking comes in at. Like I talked earlier, y'all. Get on the internet. Talk to these IAs. Let them know when you're working and let them know when you're not working. If you can do this at scale, you're going to be getting picked up all the time. Another thing, don't wait to get released to be talking to people about your next deployment. When I'm on a deployment, y'all, I'm talking to my fellow coworkers. Hey, I really would love to work in Canada. Hey, I would love to work in Colorado one day. Hey, I would love to do auto. Y'all know anybody like that? You know any managers like that? I'm networking for my next deployment while I'm on my deployment. Okay. So it's just this again, effort based. It's effort based business, y'all. All right. If you put in a little effort while the money's rolling in, while you're deployed, you can get to that next deployment immediately. Talking to your manager, have a quick 5-minute, 10-minute conversation. Mr. Manager, Miss Manager, hey, I know you're an adjuster too. How'd you get to this point you're in? I want to be in a position like you're in. The next deployment you go on, I want to work with you again. Can we do that? Can you let IA firm management know that? These are all things we can do, y'all. And if we do this at scale, the patterns start to arise. You're going to get hired faster. All right. It's all a process. All right. I'll have all this stuff written down for y'all in the PDF. All right. Let's get to the next module. Sin number 6, low levels of computer literacy. Okay. What does computer literacy mean? It means that after you turn a computer on and you kind of click around a little bit, you don't really know what's going on. I'm going to give y'all a couple stories because I want to, again, drive this point home to everybody. One, we type a lot in this industry. We type a whole lot, and you need to have your typing skills up to par. All this right here, if this is you right now, I'm gonna give you all some resources in the PDF for this module to make sure that you're practicing your typing skills. Okay, you're gonna be typing and talking at the same time more often than not. So that skill alone is something you need to get good at. All right. We're going to be using Microsoft Excel. You need to be going to YouTube and just getting a brief understanding of Microsoft Excel. We're going to use Microsoft Outlook a lot in this business. Microsoft Teams, we're going to use a lot. All right. We hadn't even gotten into claim systems. Every carrier has their own claim system. Some use GuideWrite. State Farm uses ECS as Enterprise Claim Systems. I've worked on a deployment that still used DOS. All right. Allstate Canada, in Canada, for property claims, there's a blue screen with white writing. There is no mouse function, and you navigate everything on the keyboard. Okay. So if you don't know if you're not willing to learn those things, you're going to have a really hard time in this business. You're going to have a really hard time excelling in this business. All right. And so I want to make sure everybody knows that. Because just because you're licensed does not mean, and just because you even understand insurance policy doesn't mean that you understand claim systems, y'all. All right. So how do we learn these systems? All right. It's not just about how old you are, how young you are. I've seen people that are 65, 70 years old fly through Microsoft Excel, Teams, Skype, Outlook, Xactimate, Symbility. I've seen them fly through that, and I've seen people in their 20s stumble through how to connect their phone to their computer. All right. So if you're working remote or you're working in an office, you're going to need to know how your computer works physically, and you're also going to need to know how your software systems work. And we're going to do that through repetition. All right. So when we get to our first day on deployment, our first few days are going to be kind of just like milling around. They're going to give you some claims, not that many. They'll be doing some training. Every free moment that you have, you need to be clicking around and knowing where everything is. Okay. Wow. Because what you do, you're going to be doing all these things while talking on the phone. So if you don't know how to write a check, if you don't know how to click through and find where the check is, the check writing system is, without being on the phone, you're going to get on the phone with an insured or a manager or an agent, and they're going to tell you to write a check, and you're going to be stuttering and stumbling through it, right? It's going to make you look really bad. So my first advice for this, guys, click through your claim system. All right. That's not my first, it's my second. My first one is go learn Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Outlook, Microsoft Teams, get yourself familiar with Microsoft Word as well. These are all tools we use all day, every day. We write letters inside Microsoft Excel. I'm sorry, not Excel, Microsoft Word. You need to know how to format letters. It sounds like stuff you might not have to learn, but I'm telling you guys, this gets people fired. The inability to format letters properly, depending on the deployment, will get you fired. You will be back at home because you didn't learn Microsoft Word. Go to YouTube right now, youtube.com, type in Microsoft Word, formatting, the basics of Microsoft Word. Type in the basics of Microsoft Excel. Type in the basics of Microsoft Outlook. Okay? Every single deployment is going to use those few things right there, those few tools that I talked about, right? And so that's something for y'all to do right now. You can be proactive in that. You don't have to wait to get deployed to learn those skills. Next thing, okay? Next thing for you all is going to be learning how to use Xactimate, learning how to use Symbility. Again, in the PDF, I'm going to give y'all a link, okay? This is a link. This is a person that I really like. I like his teaching style. It's on YouTube. It's all free. Again, familiarize yourself with this software system. If you're going to be a property adjuster in the field, you better know Xactimate. If you're going to be a desk adjuster for property, you better know Xactimate, and you better know Symbility. Okay? These are two extremely important software systems, powerful software systems that you need to learn, and they're really hard to learn on the job. So take the time now to start learning it today. Okay? 20 minutes a day, guys. 30 minutes a day. Have some sense of urgency. Put some effort into this. It's effort-based business. The faster you do it, the faster you learn it. All right, if you procrastinate now, you're going to get there and you're going to be like a deer in headlights. Oh man, what do I do now? How do I do this? Right? You don't want that for yourself, right? So let's make it happen. Let's make it happen now. Let's get prepared now. Okay. Now let's go back into our claim software systems. Guys, I don't know if y'all know this. There are over 5,000 insurance companies in the United States alone. Many of these companies have completely different claim software systems. So I can't pull up one claim software system for you and tell you how it works. Okay. I do know that State Farm Fire, and State Farm Auto, they have a certification that teaches you their claim software system. It gives you the general idea of it. So does USAA. So does Federated National. So does Texas Wind Insurance Association. Okay. But every carrier doesn't have certifications for their software system. So that means you're going to be learning while you get there. So again, what we talked about, clicking through, find out how to do every little task. You don't need to go ask your manager for how to do every single task. If you simply click through, y'all, you can find it out for yourself. And if you're working in office, you can always look over the shoulder of another adjuster, right? If you have adjusters close to you, hey, Jane, can you show me how to do this real quick? Hey, can I go over and look and see how you write a check? I just want to go look through the process. Y'all, when y'all get the process down, write it down. How to write a check. Open claims software system. Go to payments. Click on amount, request authority, write dollar amount, press send, write file note. That might be your process on a claim software system. Write it out. Write it out on paper. Okay, write it out on paper or write it in your notepad on your or on Microsoft Word, wherever you want to keep your notes at. Sticky notes, wherever it is. The processes that are most important for y'all, they might be letter writing, it might be sending a claim to supplements, it might be sending a claim to subrogation, it might be sending a claim to another person. Write down those top 10 or 15 tasks that you need to do most often so you can just speed through them, y'all. All right, the faster we can be literate on these computers, the faster we can do our job, the more productive we can do our job. Don't let these small processes be the reason why you're not hitting the numbers you're supposed to hit, right? Like I told y'all, like I've been telling y'all this whole time, everything is patterns. All right. So if we can be faster on our processes, which our process is just clicking through things, if we can be fast on that part, we can make our decisions faster. We can talk to our insured while we write checks, while we write letters, while we transfer claims, all those kind of things, because we're competent. All right. So you don't want to be asking the same question over and over again to 5 or 6 people, and they give you a bunch of different ways. Find a way to do it the first time, write it down, save it, put it on a sticky note, and then bam. All right, I gotta do what to write a check. I gotta do what to cancel a check. I gotta do what to write a file note. Okay, boom. You can learn that in the first couple days, y'all. Doesn't cost you anything to learn that. All of you can do it. All of you have a mouth. All of you can talk. You can write a Skype note. Hey, can you tell me how to do this? Once you learn it, write it down, y'all. Okay. And the reason I'm repeating myself is because so many people, and again, I told y'all, I got to work with thousands of people. I got to teach thousands of people. So many people, adults even, okay, they don't write stuff down. They'll have somebody tell them something, and when you're out there, they learn it one time, and they get so nervous, they think about all these other things. They have to go back to the manager. Hey, manager, how do I do this? Next week, hey, manager, how do I do this? Now the manager's like, hey, this person's not listening. Let's go do a spot check. Let's see what they're not doing right and wrong. And they found out you don't know what you're doing. You out of there. Okay. So don't let something as small as computer literacy get you out of this seat. Okay. Don't let computer literacy stop you from making 8, 9, 10, 12, $15,000 a month. On the field side, the auto side, or the desk side, desk property side. Okay. These kind of numbers are all achievable by dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Computer literacy is one of those. Guys, I've been on deployments with people, and I'm not playing with y'all right now. They didn't even know how to turn their phone on. They didn't know how to turn their computer on. Okay. Whatever industry they were in before, they didn't have to work on computers, and it showed immediately. Gone, 3 days out of there. And like I said, this is back when you had to work in the office. So imagine, buying a plane ticket and renting a car and, getting a hotel and all that, and then you don't know what to do next, right? Because you just, man, computer, what? I don't know how to do this. You out of there. Okay. So it will behoove all of you to get literate on your computers. Whatever computer skill that you don't know, you can learn it in less than 30 days. If you're not deployed now, take that time now, y'all, to hone your skills. Okay. That's it for this module. I'll see you on the next one. All right, everybody. Last module for the day. It's last, but it's certainly not least. I'm driving all these points home, but I want everybody to understand the importance of learning skills when you're not deployed. Okay. I find that claim handling is a cumulative skill. And by cumulative skill, I mean that what we learn today builds on to what we learn tomorrow, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. And so after year 1, we should have a certain level of skill. Year 2, we should be at another level, 3, 4, and 5, and so on. Our skills should grow based on the skills we're learning on the deployment and the skills we learn when we're not deployed. All right. So what does that look like? So for example, Xactimate. I've referenced Xactimate a few times since we have started this course today, but I want to go a little bit more in depth. So Xactimate has levels 1, 2, and 3. I advise anybody that plans on working in property to get at least an Xactimate 1 certification. If you plan on being a field adjuster, I recommend at least an Xactimate level 2. All right. Now, if you're already a field adjuster and you want to go into things like commercial, if you want to go into things like, farm equipment, things like that, really technical stuff, get an Xactimate 3 level certification. Or if you want to teach Xactimate, right? I will get an Xactimate 3 level certification. Now, here's the problem. It's very hard to get all these certifications while you're working. Same thing with Symbility. Same thing with some of these auto software systems that you can learn. We have mold certifications we can get with dealing with water mitigation. There's different company certifications you can get: USAA, FedNat, TWIA, California earthquake certifications. You have so many certs we can get in this business. And because of the nature of our business, we're working 60, 70, 80 hours a week. We just don't have time to do it. Now, this is one thing that separates the best from the mediocre. When you're not deployed, you need to be learning. All right. Learning another certification, learning another part of the business, learning a new skill. All right. It might be learning a new software system, like we talked about in the last module, not exactly, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, getting better at those things. Every time we get to a new deployment, we want to have better skills, right? Because it doesn't matter if you have 2 years experience or 3 years experience, if it's 2 or 3 years experience doing the exact same thing. All right. You haven't learned how to handle claims faster. You haven't learned how to put out a better work product. You haven't learned how to handle a different level of difficulty in claims. All right. When we get on these deployments, guys, specifically these catastrophe deployments, they're going to be calling people out. Hey, does anybody got any large loss deployment experience? Does anybody have any loss claim experience with auto total loss? Does anybody have any claim experience with painless dent repair? These are all things you can learn on your own when you're not working. All right. I'm going to be providing you all with a PDF after this so y'all can go in and see all the types of certifications and processes that you can learn while you're not deployed, right? So we don't have to have dead time when we're not deployed. We don't have to just sit around and just be watching Netflix, eating candy all day. We can get out here and make something happen, okay? If you can do this over time, you're going to compound your skill levels compared to somebody else because, all right, you and I, we start out year one. We learn the carry guidelines, we learn policy, we get a certification, right? We get to work and we work for a year. You take off 3 months and you just hanging out, working in the yard, things like that. That's fine, no problem with that. I go in, I get an Exactament 2 certification. We get hired again. Both of us. We're working on deployment. We're working on the property deployment. I have a stronger understanding of Exactament, so I can do more things on this property deployment. You get fired in month 3. I get released at month 9. Okay. So the next year is going into our 3rd deployment or our 3rd year in the business. All right. When I get released, I'm going on to get my Exactament 3 certification. So now, instead of you and I having 2 years experience together, I have an Exactament 3 certification. So when you go to get a property deployment again, that's fine. I'm going to get a large loss deployment now because I'm much more technically savvy than you are, right? And then what begins to happen is our incomes start to change, right? So now because I have a higher level of skills and I'm much more in demand because there's fewer people like me, I get paid more and I get paid more over a longer amount of time. I have more job stability and I got a higher income, which creates higher financial stability. While you, because you didn't invest in yourself, you put yourself behind the 8 ball, right? So you don't know what to do next. And you put yourself in a bad spot. So this is what happens day in and day out, y'all. All adjusters, we start out equally, but we don't all finish the same. And it's because of things like this. All right. Y'all, I appreciate all of y'all listening. As long as y'all have, we got 7 sins we talked about. Go through these PDFs. Go through these PDFs that we talked about. Go through all these resources, y'all. There's a ton of tools that you can use. You will not fail because of lack of resources. You're going to fail because you're not being resourceful. I believe all y'all are smart people. I believe all y'all are more than capable of not only getting into this business, but excelling at this business. All right. It is going to require a sense of urgency. It is going to require you to have some work ethic. It is going to require you to be able to network at a higher level. Right. It is going to require you to be more than what you currently are. If you want to get into that 6-figure range, if you want to get into the high 100s, you know, that 150, 160, 170 range, you're going to do a whole lot more than what the average adjuster is doing. The average adjuster is running around like a chicken with their head cut off. They have no plan. All right. You got to make a plan. They have no skills. You got to get some skills. All right. Don't have any work ethic. You got to have a lot of work ethic. All right. We have a lot of churn in this business. Churn meaning a lot of people get in and get put out. That's on the independent side and it's on the staff side. So don't think it's just an independent adjuster thing. Insurance adjusting in general chews a lot of people up. It spits a lot of people out. But if you pursue a spirit of excellence and say, I'm going to be the best I can at this by doing a process that works, by studying, by researching, by doing my extra and going the extra mile when I'm not at work so I can become better at my job, y'all, the world will open up to you. It's going to be, this industry going to open up for you, and it's going to be like, it's going to be amazing the things you can be able to get done. All right. And it's all because you will have invested in yourself. This right here is a small investment, but everything after this is going to require more effort, and it's going to require you to have a bigger push, y'all. If you have not done this already, write down how long you want to commit to this business. Write it out. And in that commitment, write out, hey, I'm going to commit the next 2 years to this business, the next 3 years to this business. And I'm going to get as good as I can at this business alone. I'm not going to do anything else. All right. I'm going to learn how to do X, Y, and Z during this time period. And after that time period passes, I'm going to look up and see where I am in life. I committed 5 years. In year one for me, I said, I'm gonna do 5 years only independent adjusting, y'all. I didn't do any other jobs. I wasn't investing in anything. I got out of debt, obviously, but like other than that, I didn't do anything. I was like, I'm learning this business. I'm gonna be pumped up and motivated to be an adjuster and get as good as I possibly can at this business. And it worked out for me. I looked up 5 years later, I was out of debt, no student loans, no car debt. I was traveling everywhere, and my quality of life had gotten so much better. All right. So we can't get anywhere. We can't start without a plan. So let's start planning out your career right now. Write on paper, what goals do you have? You might want to get into management. You might want to be a team lead one day. You might want to work in a specific city. You might want to do a specific type of claim. All right. You might want to get a certain type of accolade in the business. You might want to pay off something. You might want to buy a house for your family or something like that. Start writing those things out right now, y'all. We can live in the future if we start writing it down. 99% of the things we write come true if given enough time. Okay. So don't think that 6 months ain't sufficient, by the way, y'all. Well, a year ain't sufficient either. A lot can change in a year, but in this business, give yourself the time to master it. Okay. It's going to take some time, but if you want to be an adjuster for a while, this is how you're going to do it, y'all. For those of y'all who want to start businesses and things like that, look, if you master insurance adjusting, you're going to be much better in business, whatever that business is. All right. If you master delayed gratification, putting in the extra effort, being a professional for real, being a serious professional, you're going to go much further in life and much further in your business journey than you think you would, right? One of the reasons why, and I'm talking about business because I'm an entrepreneur too, but one of the reasons why most businesses don't succeed is because of lack of capital, right? So you might think your business needs $20,000 to get started, but it really might need $100,000 to get started and keep going, right? So insurance adjusting could provide that for you. Same thing for if you want to buy a house or provide something for your family or whatever that goal is, right? Insurance adjusting can help you get there, y'all. My name is Stephen Story. Y'all, this is the end of the 7 sins. I appreciate all y'all. Again, like I said already, put yourself out there. Be urgent. Go fast. Take action quickly. Okay? And you can change your life too, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this. Hope y'all got something from it. If you got any questions, here is my contact information. Well, my contact information is in the PDFs. Y'all can always DM me on any of the social medias y'all found me on. You can always email me. I'm here to answer your questions, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon.